That doesn't look... Maybe that's a good look on me. Is that a good look on me? Nah. I forget, but at the end of the day, I have like 4 of these on my head. They're little bungees. They're there for... They're actually for, I think, tarps, but they work well to gang my posts together. So I'm just sharing a minute, because this is what I'm up to right now. We grazed in these kind of woods. We're coming back from the neighbor's property. Knight's Ranch. Much thanks to the Schlesser family for letting us graze while Pepperwood built up again. We had a very dry February. Everyone here in Northern California is kind of shitting their pants because the grass did not grow like it should. But the beauty here that I want to show you, and this is a quick little positive thing in the land of, in the time of COVID, is we usually don't graze in the woods or the forested areas. And I'm learning a lot too. You know, basically I'm like, savanna is trees and grass. It's like, there's grass, there's food for megafauna to eat in here. And they go through and they clean up this bottom. And then they're really used to eating the oaks. So the mature oaks, they don't eat the seedlings, but they eat the mature oaks. Not a ton of oak regeneration in here, a lot of bay. But they don't really impact seedlings. I think because before I got into this, I took a workshop with the great Fred Provenza, and who's a behavioral ecologist. What a great term, title. We need more behavioral ecologists. But anyway, Fred hipped me to secondary compounds in plants, and so it's just like baking. In the early days with, not baking, but baking my brain with Elaine Ingham, I see things through this really unique and kind of burgeoning world of soil microbiology, and that goes to gut microbiology and all those things. And it's really, you go, oh, fuck, this is brand new. People aren't even really aware of this. It's like, oh, you have more bacterial cells in your body by a long shot than human cells. Now we're finding out we have way more viruses than we have bacterial cells. And most of us are learning that viruses aren't alive. No, they're inert pieces of protein. We're like, oh, let's kill the virus. Viruses crawling all over. No, viruses are just a little chunk, little particle, tiny protein with a little bit of RNA or DNA in it. That's a dumb shit telling you that, right? I'm just putting this together. But what I'm seeing as we come through here is the animals are low stress, because as the heat starts cranking up, it's 10 degrees cooler in here. And there's a lot of different plants that they're eating, and they're not eradicating everything we don't want, but they're impacting poison oak, they're impacting some of the invasive brush species, I think. And I'm like, I'm not against brush completely, but we build up a lot of brush in these woods, and that's a tinderbox, right? So in essence, I'm doing what Trump said. Last week, we don't want to agree with Trump on anything, do we? But, and again, he said rake the forest, which, dumb shit. But in essence, yeah, cleaning up this understory. And what's funny is we could do it with cattle. How about that? They don't need to be in a feedlot. So we don't have to grow all the corn and soy. It's gonna be an impact to GDP, but maybe we can focus those resources on something that isn't kind of short-sighted and destructive. So here we are, kind of cleaning up, raking the forest. Let's just call it that, because Jesus Christ, I give. And then the other thing they do is they eat this oak. I found an old paper from the early 20th century, and I think it was the 20s. I'll find out. Oak. It was talking about all the species of oak in this region, and the high levels of protein. And so, you know, some of these oak, the mature oak leaves have, you know, whatever, 8 to 14% protein, I think it said. Fact check me. Fact check me. Okay, God forbid I say something that isn't 100% accurate, but they tend to put their head up and eat that, and what that's doing is it's eliminating the ladders. And what we have is we build up kind of this understory vegetation. We have a shadow of the biodiversity this planet used to have, this continent for sure. And there's no disturbance in so much of this that we get a buildup of these understory species, and then the trees grow down to the ground. So if a fire comes through, it's just like kaboom. And I know what I'm talking about, because I've been in 2 in the last 3 years. So what I'm kind of saying is if we actually got in here and ran animals, we could do some serious understory management. And we don't have to do it blindly. We could do it with good scientific monitoring. I want to do it here, and the scientists here at Pepperwood want to, but we don't have the funding yet to do that research. So, and they're like, well, yeah, we want to, but we don't want to do something without actually monitoring it, so we can actually, you know, do our agenda, which is conservation science. And I'm all for that, but I'm itching to go, I just know it doesn't take rocket science or even a biologist to look at this and go, something significant is going on here. I don't know what it is, and I'm not saying I do, but something significant is going on here, and I think it's really worth looking at, because if our fires have this as a starting point, Cal Fire is going to have a much easier time of wrapping their arms around this. And that's what happened to me in Kincaid. Tubbs was just, we were blindsided. Kincaid, I watched it and I clocked it as it started moving. I was hoping it would move west, because there were massive amounts of vineyards between me and the fire, but it started clocking east. And I was like, shit, I'm looking at Google Earth and I'm just watching until it's right above me, and there's just a line of forest coming down. And I was certain that forest was not well managed, so it did. It ended up clocking down. The wind clocked south. And they're glad it did, because they were afraid it was going to go to the ocean if it clocked west. So that night it clocked south and it burned down to our ridge. Number 2, it's deja vu all over again. The beauty is actually the resilience you find under those times, because you're like, well, I don't know, there's nothing I could either punt, I could shut it all down and run away, or persevere and persist. You know, here I am, second time in 3 years, almost 3 years, where I might lose my home. And it's not just because of COVID. It was because I was flipped upside down in October, kept up with our payment until March. And then when the shelter in place came, I was like, nope, I'm not, my mortgage company, Fannie Mae, need that money less than I need it, standing by in case this goes worse. And it did, because my wife's income stream went way down, and the project we do anyway. So we'll see how we get through this. Got through the last one, took 2 years. I don't know that I'm psychologically stable, but I'm encouraged, and I feel like this part of my life, this thing that I do, I'm 100%. It's the most stable thing on the planet. So I could let the rest of it fall down. We could lose our house as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to. It's a resource. We have a lot of investment in that. So I'll keep trying, but I have no faith in that system anymore. I have a lot of faith in this system, and I think that there's a lot of land that needs this work. And you know, it creates really healthy protein for people, protein and fat mostly, for people to nourish people's cells, make a lot of bone broth, and that seems to be what we need for what's happening right now, right? The immune system. Yeah, this magical immune system, as if we had some organ. It's like, how's your body function? That's your immune system. How are you feeding your body? How does your body actually function? Same thing here. How does this woods, forest, whatever you want to call it, actually, I didn't say, I'm learning that the difference between forest and savanna is canopy. And I'm like, okay, that's great. If what you want to do is actually go, you know, put circles around things and say, this is this, this is this, but this actually functions like a savanna or a silvopasture or whatever. So the question is how do we let go of some of those things? The other point is that no one in their right mind in the agricultural sector would think, well, this is where we should feed cattle. They're like, that's not going to be very effective. It's very effective. There's a lot of diversity in here. And if we can actually show that we can maintain that diversity and stimulate it, and not disrupt habitat or any of the other, you know, marks we have on the list, pretty good way to get kind of hit two objectives, maybe a lot more objectives, obviously a lot more. And between you and I, this is my afternoon. I mean, not even afternoon, it's pre-noon. But this is, I'm just harvesting some vents and having a lovely walk and taking pictures of what I've done, what the cattle have done with my facilitation. And yeah, I like this. This is a nice way to be. This is where I want to be at noon or so on a Monday. Anyway, just my thoughts for the day. Yeah, the pandemic doesn't have to take us out. The pandemic can help us adapt. I think, if you ask me, that's what it's doing. I think that it's not. I think we look at viruses like these things that we're fighting, and I think viruses are messengers telling us to either stop going so fast or to adapt. And I think it's always a combination of those things. It's like, pause, put it in neutral, idle, maybe shut it off. That's the funny thing. I let it idle because I'm doing something and I'm like, shut the motherfucker off and just be here. Just fucking be for a second. I mean, we can do that. We have time. And then get back on track. Just a pause.